Since the beginning, the civilization of China believed the well-being of humanity depends on harmony with nature. But in China's rush to modernize in the late 20th century, the environment was devastated. This is Xiang Lake in Zhejiang. For 1,000 years it sustained the communities round it, but it was drained by developers, dug out for brick clay, and by the 1980s, the lake was gone.
开发湘湖了以后呢，后来呢，慢慢的，它变成了一条河，这个湖面呢几乎都没有了。那么在这样的情况下呢，就是砖瓦厂啊，在那个时候就兴起了。
It's just one story among so many in China between the 1950s and the 1980s. Nature destroyed in the name of material advancement. But when the brick factories closed, the local people lobbied to restore the lake. And they did. The woods were replanted. The wildlife came back. And now the lake even has a tourist trap. The story of Xiang Lake, it seems to me, is like one of those old Chinese fairy tales about the thing that was loved and lost and then found again. I suppose you could say that the story of the lake is a parable of the modern fate of China's ancient ecological civilization and the modern renewal of that dream. Of China's environmental crisis lie in the 19th century, when the West took the lead in the Industrial Revolution. China fell behind. To catch up in the late 20th century, they industrialized at breakneck speed with coal power. Just like the Industrial Revolution in Europe, no one thought about the environment. They simply wanted to change the mode of production and lift the people out of poverty.
China achieved rapid growth and rising living standards, but there was the cost of environmental degradation.
In the last 40 years, China's GDP has increased almost 70 times. Carbon emissions are up 9-fold.
If we see the history and we see the current status and we see the trend and we see the economy, I think we are facing very serious challenge.
The Chinese government has set up an environmental think tank. And on it is lawyer and environmentalist Lawrence Braun.
Lawrence, I recognize you from your photograph. Yeah, good.
The key to repairing the damage is to make a fundamental shift in the way that China thinks about the environment, to promote what President Xi has called an ecological civilization.
Thinking that had lasted for about a decade in China was we need high growth rates, we need fast industrialization, otherwise we can't give people jobs and we won't have social stability. Over 50% of the water supplies are toxic. You have now massive melting of Himalayan glaciers which affect your water systems. You have disruption in the environment. You take toxic water, you put it on food. Add up the cost of repairing this. It's a cost to the government. It goes back to the taxpayer. And so you have to think about the cost of GDP.
Pollution costs lives and money. And the first step, everyone agrees, is for China to drastically cut carbon emissions.
We have to achieve net zero carbon emission by 2060. And that means we need to cut the carbon emission tremendously. We need to level it and then cut it down and to bend the curve very fast. Fossil fuel is responsible for nearly 80% of the greenhouse gas emission. Even last year, coal is still more than 60% in the energy consumption.
So as China will be dependent on coal for some time yet, in the short term, they've developed new low-emission technology for their coal-fired power stations.
Also the boiler.
They're putting huge research and development into these technologies, and they're one of the world leaders now. This plant in Shanghai was the pioneer. It's so efficient that it's cleaner than natural gas.
Tell us just briefly how much power this plant generates.
Each year we output 10 billion kilomegawatt to the city. 6.8% for the city, the supply.
Bai Yunfeng is a scientist at the environmental protection technology company that developed the ultra-low emissions treatment.
我们管这种技术呢叫超低排放，我们只是努力把我们能做的最好。所以呢，当时做完以后呢，它的主要污染物呢，居然比这个天然气排放还要低。
How much do you reduce the emissions?
等于是提速了大概6倍。所以你要说降了多少，可能是上千万级，或者说是大概有上亿级的吨的这样的一个二氧化硫被减排，可能会有大概几千万吨的氮氧化物被减排，然后当然也有上亿吨的这个粉尘被减排。
So if the technology has been so successful here, will it go all the way across China?
应该讲那时候我们这真是中国第一个，因为可能当时还不叫超低，那么现在实施超低排放的电厂已经超过了71%，因此来讲已经成为中国电厂的主力的一个方向。OK。
The aim is that all China's coal-fired power stations will have this technology by 2020. But lowering emissions on its own won't be enough. China has 1.4 billion people. They all want to be consumers. They all want the latest gadgets and to throw out the old ones. That too has huge environmental cost. And until recently, it was all unregulated.
Most of the laws which were made in 1980s or 90s were not so strict like the environmental law. Now we re-amended it, and now the law is with teeth. There's stronger, tighter rules and regulations to make sure that the law is better implemented.
As China's economy grows, more resources can be given to environmental protection.
Things move step by step. At the beginning, I think when there's a shortage economy, you really couldn't think more. But then with the progress of the economy and with a wide awareness in the public, there is more attention, more support given to environmental protections.
And in that, the young have a special role to play.
I think public awareness of the environmental issues is increasing in China. I think in the last 5 years, air pollution has been a big concern of the public. But I see this generation, they care about the environment, and they teach their parents not to do the things that harm the environment.
And among the young, social media now has a huge influence. Pan is an author and a blogger with a growing online following. She writes about food and the soil and sustainable farming.
自从有了小朋友之后，我就希望社会有更多的变化，环境有更好的改善，是因为我考虑到我的下一代。我也会经常去参加这个有机农夫市集，并且在这上面认识了很多，北京周边的农场主。我会和他们交朋友，然后把他们的故事也分享给我的粉丝们。
Pan also blogs about food safety. She tells you where to buy the right produce. She talks about how and where to recycle. She's even teaching her mum.
不客气。
有了小孙子以后呢，我们就对水、空气和周围的环境更重视，因为孩子还小，他需要他那个还在成长。所以说呢，我们很注意这些事情。
生活在北京的人都很乐观，大家会很积极的去面对这件事儿，用我们自己的能力，比如说垃圾的分类，去教小朋友和传递给更多的人，在微博上面告诉大家，垃圾应该怎么处理、怎么分类，我们减少用垃圾，少用塑料袋，我们尽量用环保袋购物，这样。
So public awareness on the environment is growing rapidly now with online and social media, and it's already producing results.
I think a big change is due to the information disclosure, and that is the main reason the public awareness is being improved fast. Public awareness also formed a big pressure, not only government, but business too, and to improve, to change the situation.
And big business is now responding to this growing public awareness about the environment. This is Ant Financial, one of the biggest online companies in the world.
Now open their apps like Ant Forest. I didn't drive my car, so I collect this energy. So this energy can grow up to a tree.
Yeah.
So when it's grow up to a tree, we really plant a real tree. We will go plant in those areas. So far, we already have over 650 million people participating in these programs, and already plant 55 million trees. That's already have saved about 2.8 million carbon emission. That's huge.
Amazing.
Look at very small ideas, but through these powerful platforms, can really have a big impact.
But with time so short, the big hope for the future is technology.
The natural phenomena is moving in an exponential curve. So many environment problems goes up very fast. The only thing that can match this exponential curve is technology.
China will lead on technology. This involves massive data to manage water, hydro, solar, all of these systems. Under the policy of ecological civilization, the state has now designated the target 2050, 80% of all energy sources in China will be green.
And that's why China's President Xi has taken the lead with the Paris Climate Accord.
China is now the leader in terms of investment and output of green energies, whether solar energy, wind energy, and electric cars. Smart city, smart car, smart streets, smart shops, smart environment. It's about ecological civilization.
Good for the environment and the economy. That's the hope.
Thinking about the environmental technologies going out on the Belt and Road, because this will create all kinds of jobs. This is not the environment preventing growth. The next growth opportunity is in fixing the environment.
And how China succeeds in that will be crucial not only to the Chinese people, but to the future of life for all of us on this small planet.